Does my arm look like a turkey drummer?
Nobody can afford me.
Harry, you are one of the directors of our secondary off-plan team. What is it that you guys sell?
We essentially sell off-plan projects that have sold out from a developer previously, that are maybe 1 to 2 years into the payment plan, or close to handover. The job's not too complicated if you do the basics right. If you come to the office early, if you do the numbers when the times are good, do the numbers when the times are bad. Stay positive in negative situations.
Yeah.
And if you just continue to do the numbers consistently, you'll see the results.
Yeah.
My personal success is down to simply just hard work. You can do the numbers in 1 month and you might not bill anything, or you could do the numbers next month and you can have your personal best.
Yeah.
You just have to try and remain positive in negative situations. You just have to try and be emotionless to the job.
Yeah.
I think if you can master that, then that's when you'll see a lot of success.
Yeah. If I could have just one line from you that sums up why you are so good, what would it be?
I'm working harder than anybody in the room. I've been in Damac Lagoons, my market, for the last 3 years, dominated it. And, I don't really want to see a scenario as to where I'm not the number one agent in the market. So as much as I embrace everybody coming into the market and working alongside people, obviously there's only room for number one.
Yeah,
Hopefully that's going to be me, yeah.
So, Harry, you are one of the directors of our secondary off-plan team. What is it that you guys sell?
We essentially sell off-plan projects that have sold out from a developer previously, that are maybe 1 to 2 years into the payment plan, or close to handover.
Harry, this department isn't in many businesses. Not many businesses have a specific secondary resale department. I feel like my team massively benefits from that, having that sort of variety. Yeah. Why do you think it's so important for businesses and companies to understand the secondary resale market?
I think, we've got a team of 22 people. Ultimately, in those 22 people, everyone's working with investors every single day. So investors are coming into the market and they're not just buying 1 or 2 projects, they're buying the best deals that are in the market.
Yeah.
We've got 100 brokers that are always working with opportunities. So essentially throughout our team, we've got people that are always buying good deals.
Yeah.
So it makes the business cross-sellable in terms of the way we work.
So Harry, we run separate departments. More often than not, when I'm sort of thinking to the future and thinking where I need to put brokers and where transactions are going to happen, I will come and speak to you and sort of say, what do you see as up and coming? Where do you think I need to focus? How do you identify, A, what's a good purchase for your investors, but B, how do you map Dubai and put your brokers in up and coming areas?
Good question. I think the main thing that we try to focus on is identifying areas that the price per square foot is undervalued compared to the ready market. For example, Damac Lagoons, or for example, Emaar South, Dubai South, are areas where the ready market is already transacting above what the off-plan prices are. So essentially, when you're selling it to an investor, they can see the value in terms of buying something when it's off-plan compared to what price is going to look like when it hands over.
Yeah, I think that works really well, specifically for our business, because a lot of my brokers in my team, they will have people that have owned and bought in really cheap, and it's really nice that they can kind of bounce off you guys. We can say, for example, you bought into Talal Al Gaf X amount of years ago, you want to do the same thing, let's flick you over to the off-plan resale and kind of see what opportunities you guys have got and where we can sort of complete that life cycle. So I do think it works really well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, everything that we're doing for 90% of the time is only dealing with investors that are essentially just looking to maximize money. But essentially they're buying as an investor with cash, ultimately holding it for the projects to reach the BCC stage. And then when the mortgages come into place, they can essentially flip their product to an end user.
And that's when you hand it over to my team.
Exactly.
So obviously within the business, we've got some really, really strong brokers, some really strong personalities. And I like to think we've got a very solid leadership team, myself and you included. Although I always advise that people sort of stay in their own lane and just focus on themselves, I do think it's really important to have people to look up to and to aspire to be like. And you are definitely a name that crops up amongst the company. What advice would you give to someone that's just starting out or is kind of sitting there thinking, I know I can do it, I don't know where to start?
Well, I think what's quite good about our company is that obviously in the off-plan resale team, myself and Lewis we're still obviously brokering
Yeah.
every single day. So we're not asking anything from our staff that we're not doing ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
In terms of coming into the office early, leaving the office late. I know these are all very cliche things, but the job's not too complicated if you do the basics right. If you come to the office early, if you do the numbers, you do the numbers when the times are good, do the numbers when the times are bad, stay positive in negative situations.
Yeah.
And if you just continue to do the numbers consistently, you'll see the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that's kind of your, I say, secret to success, but sort of do the basics well and sort of rinse and repeat? Have you followed the same process throughout your career, or what?
Yeah, I think maybe I might sound like a little bit like a dinosaur when I say this, but I've always worked the same way, and I've done the same. I've been in sales for like the last 15 years. I've always worked in a very similar way. I probably think my personal success is down to simply just hard work.
Yeah.
I'm always working the hardest, putting the numbers in. And I think what I've learned from experience is you just have to navigate through every situation. You can do the numbers in 1 month and you might not bill anything, or you could do the numbers next month and you can have your personal best.
Yeah.
You just have to try and remain positive in negative situations. And I think that's really the art to the job in terms of the mindset.
And I think that's a really important thing for me, and I think that's why so many people look up to you, because you are just sort of you are sort of just very honest, very open, very authentic. And it's like, look, I work hard, I do the basics well. It's not always great, sometimes it is rubbish, but sort of if you've had a bad day, leave that bad day, come back in the office the next day early and do the best that you can.
No, I think that is the art to it. And I think that's where people sort of struggle, is that certainly new starters coming into the job is that you might have 1, 2, 3 Form F sent out, you're already counting your commission, everything falls out of bed, and then you're chasing your tail looking for the next opportunity. You just have to try and be emotionless to the job, and it's difficult to be like that. That comes with experience, but I think if you can master that, then that's when you'll see a lot of success.
Do the basics well. Yeah. This industry is extremely competitive, and one of the negatives with the current market is the volume of agents. Every man and their dog is an agent. And one thing I feel about this company in particular is we're not very shouty. You go on Instagram and you see sort of 1 million slow-mo walks through a community claiming that you're number one. One thing that you've said to me before is the only thing you want to be number one with is transactions. You want to be the best in the area that you are based in, which based on DLD data, based on the amount of deals you've been involved in, based on the amount of commission that you've written, you very clearly are number one. So we arguably sort of started a Damac Lagoons resale team, started Dubai South, the Valley. How do you deal with that external noise? Because I'm sure you have sellers sort of say to you, oh, but what about this agent or that agent? How do you kind of explain what's important?
I think one thing that myself and Lewis are very big on, and I'm sure you're the same, Jess, is not listen too much to the outside noise. Be number one on Bayou, be number one on Property Finder. Don't worry about being number one on Instagram and stuff like that. Ultimately, focus on our own inputs and outputs. And if anything, for me personally, I take a lot of motivation when I see other people coming into the market. You can look at it and say, make excuses, the market's becoming saturated, the market's becoming...
The war.
Lots of things that you could say as an excuse as to why maybe your numbers might slack, or why you might make an excuse not to do business. Or you can channel it as motivation and say there's only room for one number one in the market, and try and feed off that energy in a positive way. And look, there's so much room and there's so much money to be made for other agents coming into the market as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just try and turn it into a positive. Build relationships with good agents that are coming into the market, and try and maximize more deals.
So obviously we're both at Luxfolio and have had slightly different journeys. You started at Luxfolio, wouldn't look anywhere else. I was at another company and then moved to Luxfolio. I think one thing that I see more often than not, particularly with experienced agents that have been at other companies and are now choosing to work with us, is the sort of the jump in their career. And I think a lot of agents sort of stay where they are because it's comfortable. And being comfortable in such an uncomfortable job is something that people really hold on to. And I think the advice that I would give to those agents is make the move, because being comfortable kills drive. Being comfortable kills motivation. And coming into a company with the likes of you and Lewis and everything that we have to offer and the management team that we have, I have seen it excel people's A, careers, and B, people's paychecks. I think you get very comfortable earning a good wage. And let's face it, whatever company you work at, if you're a good broker, you earn very, very good money. And I think it's a big thing for people to walk away from being comfortable and coming into something that they don't know. But what I love about working at Luxfolio is that I am in a position where I can make decisions. I can give people the environment that they need. I can push them to the next step. I can give them secondary resale teams that automatically feed into their sellers and their buyers. So that's something that I really enjoy. And having experience being somewhere else and coming here, I can definitely see why, A, if you were here, you'd never look anywhere else. Yeah. And B, why, if you are somewhere and you're doing well, we should definitely be on your radar, and having that conversation with our recruiters, with management, with people that work here is something that you should definitely enter into.
Yeah, I think if agents are comfortable in their current environment, coming into a new environment like Luxfolio, I think that I've never worked at another company, so I can't speak for everybody else's numbers, but you hear things on the grapevine or whatever you want to call it. And I think that one thing's evident with our company is that we've got a lot of brokers that are billing above the standard average in the market. So if you're coming into our company, you don't want to be seen as not doing the numbers as what majority of other brokers are doing within the business. And I think that will give everybody or new starters or whatever you want to call it, a push to do better.
Yeah. And I think just to touch on that, one thing that I sort of pride myself on with my team, but as well with the business, is we do push and we have very high expectations. But what I sort of hear from experienced agents that are coming into our team is we push and we want the best, but we also don't punish. It's kind of like, we expect you to be at this level, but if you're not, okay, let's figure out how we get there. It's very much a team effort, and it's very much, we all want everyone to be operating up here. And if you're not, then what can we do to get you there? Whereas I think other agencies in the market say it's kind of like, right, well, if you're there, there's a million more of you, let's just replace you.
Yeah, and I think what's unique about certainly the off-plan resale team, obviously I don't like to talk about myself too much, but obviously myself, Lewis, we're not asking anything from our brokers that we're not doing ourselves, but also it's evident that they can see from us that we're doing the numbers every single month. We're putting big numbers on the board. And certainly like during the time of the war, of uncertainty and stuff like that, when we were saying, listen, you need to double down, you need to work hard, we was doing that. We was putting the numbers on the board. And I think that had a positive domino effect on the staff throughout the whole business.
No, definitely.
Which is why we've probably navigated through it so well.
Yeah, definitely 100%. So, Harry, it's probably taken me and P a good 6 months to get you on camera. And I know you don't like talking about yourself or having yourself on toast, but credit where credit's due. You are our number one broker. You are someone that everyone looks up to. So if I could have just one line from you that sums up why you are so good, what would it be?
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, making me blush. But look, I know I said it earlier on, but I obviously work hard. I pride myself on trying to lead from the front and working harder than anybody in the room. I think one thing that scares me with a lot of people coming into the market is, I've been in Damac Lagoons, my market, for the last 3 years, dominated it. And, I want to continue to do that. And, I don't really want to see a scenario as to where I'm not the number one agent in the market, or other people are coming into the market and stealing business from me. So as much as I embrace everybody coming into the market and working alongside people, obviously there's only room for one number one. And hopefully that's going to be me.